Hello. Today I'll be discussing this. Um, I guess it's a collection of stories. Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, uh, Golden Age Sheena, the best of the Queen of the Jungle, and um, apparently this company, Devil's Due Publishing, they came out with I guess a reboot of Sheena in 2008. Apparently, I mean, I don't know if it's still going on, but I just happened to see it at the comic shop, and I wanted to get it and I got the first paperback of the reboot, but I saw this too, and it looked really interesting because, like, looking through the book, it kind of reminded me of EC Comics, um, Tales from the Crypt. That's Tales from the Crypt, Frontline Combat, things like that. Um, that really like as a kid, that really interested me. The EC frontline comics stuff. Just getting a drink. Um, I mean, what I like about it is that, well, there's some things you don't know about it because it's I want to say it was 11 stories of Sheena that were, according to the kind of like the people that put this together, kind of like the best of Sheena. But reading this, you don't have basic answers to questions you may have, like like how did she become? Because it's based in Africa, and like I remember like seeing this image, like not this image, but seeing her and various things that had to do with graphic novels in the golden age, and um, I don't know, like it's just like I said, oh, that's interesting. That seems interesting because it seems like she was like Tarzan, like. And a matter of fact, I'm not even sure. I wonder because apparently she came out in, I want to say 1937, and I wondered when did Tarzan come out. Um, but anyway, what's really neat about this collection is that the people that put it out, they're aware that this came out at a time when there's a lot of like, I don't want I don't want to say racial insensitivity, but you know they it's like there's some bizarre things in there that that would not fly would not fly today. But you know this is the way the majority of people, I shouldn't say the majority, but it's just the way some of the things were viewed at the time. And what I especially like about it is that towards the end, it's mentioned, like before the end, there's one extra story, but it's put in two separate editions because apparently the original was published in, I think, 1946, and then the reprint version 1951. And apparently, this comic, this character, holds a special place in comic history because of one of the people. Like there's a little quote right there. That person, that doctor, uh, Frederick Wertham, is was instrumental in getting the comics code put into place. And what the comics code did is it basically censored comics. And you know, I remember reading the EC comics and the Frontline Combat comics, and I remember them being like, I guess like growing up, like now, like a few years back, then I started viewing this stuff maybe in the early 90s, because when Tales from the Crypt came out, the HBO series, they started reproducing a bunch of EC comics, and that included Frontline Combat 2. Um, and when they did that, I read it, and it's like I guess I really didn't think about it, but it's pretty violent, and they show like some of the stuff going on, but it wasn't too excessive violent in the stuff I was watching to begin with. 'Cause I watched horror movies and stuff like that, like Pieces of Death. Um, but I guess back to the Comics Code Authority, that apparently these two issues at the end of this book, I mean, this one issue and two versions at the end of this book, um, I thought it was real neat that they put it in this book, because you can see what kind of like the I guess the censorship did to the story, to the comic. It did, to me, it made it like not as exciting, and it was just real bizarre. And, I'll go over it in a bit, but it's just real neat. I think like things like this, like comics from the past, are real neat to look at, because like you kind of get a feel for, you know, especially like in here are like random advertisements. It's so interesting because in at the back of the book, when they're talking about the censorship and stuff, they mention that, hey, these companies, they don't exist anymore, because there's addresses and stuff here still, like addresses. So they're saying like don't, and they're not saying, but they're implying, don't write them. They're out of business, and they don't even have zip codes, which is like bizarre to me. But kind of like the first two stories are um, black and white, which I really don't care for. But like some of the things that are real neat, are like the scene where they're shooting the rifles. Um, and like some of those scenes, especially this one, the story is, it's kind of like when you read on it, when you read of like the white people that are in there, their government, like they're, it's not really implied, but that they're in charge of what's going on in Africa, and Sheena is separate from them, but she's still over the natives because she's the natives' queen. But and it never goes over the origin story of how Sheena became like the queen, and I wonder if those stories have been reprinted, because that would be interesting to go over. But I noticed that there's like a few rifle scenes in here which are really cool, and they even have like in two separate times like a Vickers machine gun. That's it, right there, the Vickers machine gun. And I thought this was a crazy advertisement too, because there was another advertisement about for it was like geared toward women, like, and it said one of the things it said like the curvy girls get all the dates. But just gonna go over some more of the scenes I enjoyed. Let's see. Oh yeah, here's another like great rifle shot. Like Sheena is just taking a shot at a tire and blows it out. But kind of like it would be interesting to see, how she became a great shot. Because she's using everything else in throughout the stories. She's using spear, knife, and Let me see. There were like a spear, knife, and a bow. And there's like one scene where she's like throwing a spear at a. It looks like a leopard. But about the more violent aspect, like this scene right here. This guy's is a French guy. He's he was trying to rob the natives, but Sheena was helping the natives, and I guess some of his comeuppance were that the natives tied him to a tree and shot him full of arrows. But that one scene does remind me of the EC Comics style, which I thought was really cool. And there's just so many, just funny, like some of the innuendos. You can see like Sheena's bathing right there, and you could tell that she's obviously naked. But according to like the censors, like this story was probably produced like before the censorship happened, because like you find little things like her bikini, the leopard skin she's wearing, like it exposes some of her midriff too. But in different comics, you'll see that she's wearing almost like a one piece, which is interesting. And some of the stories that they don't only they involve I guess Sheena like either helping Native people being free from enslavement. Um, I guess now thinking about it, um, slavery's been around, forever. It's never stopped. But it made me wonder how often was it going on back then if they were introducing it to a readership like from these stories. I mean, I don't know. But another aspect of the stories that happened were of people finding a mystical land, like a lost civilization stuck in time place. And this was one of the places where they're led to a different land, and there's this other queen who's leading a group of not native Africans, but it looks like white people in this different land, and she's riding a zebra. But and I kind of like the different scenes of when Sheena is stabbing the creatures. Like a lot of times she'll say, she'll call them demons or devils, and she'll say one of the things I like. She said, "Taste my blade," and I was saying like it would be so cool, like getting a blade, like taste my blade. It was just funny. And sometimes like a few of the weapons I found in here that are real cool, like some of the spears, the way they're done. And there was even like a rungu that was used. It's like a throwing club, and it was used by pygmies in a lost place where it was an elephant graveyard, and these people were looking for ivory. Totally bizarre, but I'm just trying to get to the good scenes. Oh yeah, here's this. There she was like telling the warthog to taste my blade. That was real cool. And a lot of the stories, which I find a little bizarre, like here's like another one. She's telling the animal, the leopard, "Die, devil, die." But I like that they're showing like the blood and she's actively stabbing it. But it's so funny that throughout different parts of the book, they have the different wild animals trapped in cages, and they use them as traps. Like, like you spring a trap, and in the trap, one of these wild animals comes out. It's just like part of that. It's just pretty hilarious to me because there's a suspension of disbelief where sometimes okay, I guess, but it happens a whole lot in these books where there is one part where a group of people, let me see if I can find it, a uh, some white people are trying to, how would you say it, are trying to find ivory. Oh no, actually to like sell slaves, but they steal a ship that's transporting prisoners, but the people who are stealing the ship know that this ship has trapdoors, and I don't know. I just thought that was kind of funny. And here's like an example of Sheena's costume changing, where it becomes like a one piece in that story. Like another like bizarre thing that happened is that her mate, Sheena's mate Bob, is that in different points in the stories that he's like constantly getting captured. Like Sheena's able to run away, but Bob's always constantly getting captured. And like when I'm reading these stories, like part of me is like wanting to tell Sheena, like, hey, I think you need to have a talk with him about upping his evasion skills. But this is the part at the end of the book where it goes into Sheena and the censorship, and it you see like the two stories, and it basically it's talking about the racial insensitivity that's in the book, and there is like many examples in here which I'm like, oh, but I don't know. I don't know what to really think about that. I mean, I think it would help if you knew the whole story, like if you were able to see like from the beginning to end, but that's maybe difficult. It's like since the 30s this thing's been produced, but like some of the cool action scenes, like this warthog, the look on its face, and it's charging. And at this part, Sheena does kill the warthog, and in the censored version, she doesn't, and so it kind of doesn't make sense in the second part. In the censored version, I mean. But in this story, at the end, it's one of the fantastic places story where the characters are led to a fantastic place. But this is apparently the cover of the censored story, and you could see her outfit. And you know what? Let me check. I didn't even. Yes. Yes. Because you can see there, the 1951 story, she's wearing the one piece. And the 1946 story, she's wearing the sort of midriff exposing piece. Very interesting. But let me, I guess, get to like some of the more like bizarre-ish insensitive parts, which this one character, this knife-throwing Italian, who, let me see if I can get it, the half-breed, It says the sly half breed's brain works with lightning speed, and he comes up with this devious plan. When I saw that, I was like, "What?" And I had to go back in the story. Like, never did it mention anywhere that he was, half of anything. Then I don't know if it's the author or the people at the time. They're assuming that someone with that type of last name, which is Italian, is a half breed. Interesting stuff. But let's see what else. Oh, yes, this other part where Sheena is trying to get into an area to rescue Bob, and she disguises herself as a native woman by putting berry juice on her, and her skin becomes darker. I thought, oh, Sheena, no. But oh well. But what was interesting too is that in the like the censored part where one part that was taken out was this white guy getting gored to death by this statue, this mechanical statue. But one thing in both stories they left is the native guy getting eaten by the monster. I thought, oh man, that is so awful. Oh, but what are you gonna do? But I'm gonna also look at the for the Sheena the reboot to see what that's like. But I thought this was neat. I mean, I think I would recommend this to anyone. Like story wise, I mean, I wouldn't. Since the stories are not like interconnected, like you don't see this whole overarching story because it's not meant for that. It's meant for kind of like a fun like afternoon read, like maybe for kids because it was like a jumbo comics. It was like a series of stories put together. Um, but I would recommend it if you're like if you were a big EC Comics fan or Frontline comic fan or like even a Golden Age fan of like DC or Marvel to begin with. I think it would be a good idea to look at Sheena and especially this one that was put out by Devil's Due. Devil's Due Publishing. But I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, it's not for everyone. I wouldn't say you have to have thick skin, but maybe you do because I get to easily see some people like putting it down, like oh, and not understanding the whole story behind it at that time. So, but at the very least, it's especially like a good idea to look at for the one story at the end in two different versions, just to see what censorship did to the story. Um, but yeah, I'd recommend it, and I liked it. I would say, you know what, I'd give it like a four, I really enjoyed it, but you have to take a look at it and see what you think. Have a good one.